Kevin the teenager plus the child catcher equals Matt.
Hello, welcome to episode 83 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name's John Denton. With me as always, Chet Roivas.
Bush.
So you know the deal, or you might not, because we've heard that some people might not actually know how the podcast works. It's really simple. There are two top 10 lists. One is mine, one is Chet's. 10 is the game I've played the least. It's also the game that Chet's played the least, but they're different games, and we work back and forwards, getting to number one, which is the game we've both been playing the most this week. Really simple. Let's kick it off. Chet, number 10.
Okay, right. My number 10 is Breach and Clear on iOS. I played it on an iPad. You spoke about this several months ago, didn't you?
Yeah, the Robert Bowling tactical sort of strategy game.
Top-down strategy game. Yeah. I shouldn't. I wasn't planning on mentioning it, but that's just the way the cookie crumbled this week. First of all, follow IGN on Twitter. They don't spam their feed too much, and once a month they give away a free iOS game, and this month it was Breach and Clear, and it works. Those codes that they give away work across the globe. So, yeah, I got one last month as well. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, Breach and Clear. I only played it for about 15 minutes. I shouldn't judge it so soon, but it's fucking rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah, again, I mean, it's difficult sometimes, isn't it? Because you want to give a game a fair shake, but sometimes it's quite clear within 10 minutes that it's really not very good. And that was definitely the case with this game.
Yeah, see, the thing is that on the surface it looks like something I should love. Fundamentally, though, it's a top-down. I thought it looked like an XCOM style.
Yeah.
It's not really. It's kind of... It's all about breaching rooms, but you can't see the people in the rooms until you've broken in, which kind of sort of depletes any strategy from it. I was just like, why am I breaking into rooms and never knowing where anyone is, so I can't actually react to those situations? It made no sense to me. The controls were kind of fidgety, and they screwed me over a couple of times. I may play it some more, but it pissed me off so many times in 15 minutes. I was just like, goodbye.
If I remember correctly, it felt like it was going to be turn-based, but then when you move, the enemy moves at the same time. Is that right? So instead of you moving, taking position, then the enemy has their turn. It sort of all happened at the same time. You couldn't directly control once it started moving. It was a really strange design decision. Yeah,
and when you get into rooms, I thought maybe the enemies would always be in the same place, but they're not. It's weird. It's a weird game. Admittedly, I didn't play it a hell of a lot, but. It didn't inspire me to go back to it. Definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, I got rid of it straight away. It's difficult with iOS because you can tell quite quickly a lot of the time if something's working or not. More so than if it was a full-price dealio.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not happy with the amount of time I've played it, but then again, the thought of going back to it just makes me want to blow chunks. So
blow chunks.
Yeah, I don't know. Breach and Clear. I don't know. It was free. Maybe part of it is the fact that it's free and it just cost me nothing. I downloaded it of an afternoon, turned it on, and it just underwhelmed me. Maybe I'd be more willing to try harder if I'd paid. Who knows? Anyway, it made a really, really shite impression on me.
Yeah. All right, then. My number 10 is The Wonderful 101. I had good intentions of going back to it properly and getting stuck in. But with a combination of busyness, Grand Theft Auto, and all sorts of other things, it just felt overwhelming to go back to at this particular juncture. It is a very complicated and difficult game, and especially when you're trying to reacclimatise yourself to the controls and generally trying to remember the systems involved. So I just felt like I kind of dived out a bit quite quickly once I started playing it. So it's just, I don't know if I'm in the right mental frame right now. I think this is a game that if I give myself a little bit of a break over Christmas, and hopefully GTA will be gone by then, if that makes, not hopefully, but you know what I mean? I kind of assume I'd be done with it by then. Hopefully I can just find myself a little window, maybe even just sort of 6 hours or something, where I can just sit and dedicate it to this game, see if I can get the most out of it as possible, because I do want to, and I do like what I've played so far, but it's not like you stick on Bayonetta even after this time, it grabs you straight away, whereas this is like, what do I do again, and how do I, and you draw the circle, and then what does it mean when I do that, and get that, and after 5 minutes, sort of 10 minutes of that, it was tough to justify trying to spend the brief amount of time that I had to game overall or on something like that. So I'll probably leave it for ages, go back to it properly.
Yeah, I haven't had the time. I haven't picked it up or anything. It's at the top of my list of things to play when there's hopefully a lull next year, but that doesn't tend to happen anymore, so we'll see. Okay, my number 9 is Candy Crush Saga.
Oh my god!
iOS.
End the podcast.
You played this then?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it, but it's just weird how it's become the most mainstream game ever.
Yeah, it's legitimately a phenomenon, and that's why I woke up hungover and I looked at my phone. I thought I'll play something for 5 minutes, which will give me a worse headache and then put me back to sleep. But I realised that I hadn't played this, and I downloaded it months ago. I found it instantly annoying. After about 10 minutes, it's like, buy more moves. There's no other way in. It's like a game I spoke about last week. I think it kind of amazed me that it can put a brick wall. It can say, buy more moves, and unless you keep retrying, you're not getting past this bit. 69p, do you want to buy some moves? Not really. Go have another go then. Kind of surprised me. I didn't realise it was that cuntish of a game, but apparently it is. I don't understand. I mean, it's Bejeweled, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's basically Bejeweled. I mean, you would have to be prodigiously ungifted to make that not fun. But what I don't know what the legality. I mean, if you're the guy that came up with Bejeweled, you'd be furious, right? I mean, this is just the same thing but with different.
I don't. Yeah, it's difficult because isn't that the same as Zookeeper? It's the same as.
Is that this? I've never played Zookeeper.
Have you not?
No, same thing, is it?
Yeah. The match 3, you slide the thing, and then it drops down.
But as long as you change what those things are, you can make money from it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess so. Well, they have. I think they could afford a lawsuit at this point as well if it did come up. But, Candy Crush Saga, it's weird because my mum went on holiday a week ago, and with her friend, she's like in her 50s or whatever, and she said all her friends did was just sit there glued to their phones playing this game, and they're, women in their late 50s. That's weird. I mean, that is weird. That's never happened before. And that kind of paywall thing, the only reason I'm thinking it's working is because most of the people are playing it just don't have the language of games as part of their knowledge base. We've got 25 years of playing video games. We understand how they work, what we expect from them. So when something like that comes up, it's really affronting. Like you said, it's really unusual. Why? No, this is not how games work. I don't. How dare you be so rude? Yeah. It almost feels like that. But I'm guessing. This is just me guessing why people are less bothered by that, because if they don't know that's not what games have always been, and suddenly have this toy, and Bejeweled is fun, and if they never played Bejeweled, they're playing a version of it that all their mates are playing, and you can trade stuff with your friends as well, I think. Yeah,
and if so many people like things on Facebook, you get coins or some God knows what, I don't know. I suppose when you put it like that, it's no different from going into an arcade and pumping coins into a machine, I suppose. I suppose they're from a generation that aren't used to getting everything for fucking free. Maybe that's the point. I just thought it seemed strange that it was so aggressively like, I'm sorry, there's no way to progress unless you buy money. I mean, you can go back and solve it in another way, but, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's horrid, but it is what it is. It almost doesn't seem like a video game to me, if that makes any sense. Yeah. It seems like it's its own thing. Yeah. It's, just niggling into people's consciousness for some reason. Yeah. But, I mean, whatever, fair play. It's not up to you. You make your own choices. If you want to play Candy Crush Saga and spend your money, do it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun game. I just found it irritating, and I found it irritating just because I have a problem with the pluralisation of the word candy. They're like candies. In America, candy's a different word than it is here, so it's just weird and it just irritated me. Anyway, the game is great, but I will never play it again.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. With candies as well, it just it makes me feel a little bit unpleasant.
yeah, I know what you mean.
All right, real deal for my number 9. Here we go. Made in Chelsea on the iPhone.
What?
Yep. I don't know how I discovered this even existed. I can't remember. Maybe I saw it on the internet or something like that. But I know people have been tweeting about playing Made in Chelsea the game, which shows more about who I'm following on Twitter. Anyway, Made in Chelsea the game. I like Made in Chelsea the TV programme. I don't watch TV. Now, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I don't watch TV. I do. Most TV is kind of crap and horrible. I say I don't watch TV. I watch stuff like X Factor and just kind of shout at it for 2 hours. But apart from sports, one of the only TV programs I genuinely like that isn't something you watch on Netflix or a series is Made in Chelsea. Made in Chelsea is a program that is fucking crap in every single way, but I find it endlessly entertaining, and the drama that happens in it is real. Everything else is set up. When the people have a ruck about whatever reason, the emotions are real, and it's quite. I don't know. I don't even need to justify it myself. I like it. Fucking sue me. I don't care. The game though, shit. Clearly shit. It is one of those free to play, gonna try and wring money out of you. Kind of I don't know how you describe it. Kind of like a life sim type of game. The idea is that you build your little character, boy or girl, and then you get an apartment in Chelsea, and you go around with the characters from the show and buy new clothes and stuff like that. It's nothing that you haven't seen before, but the whole time, all the clothes cost diamonds, and you have to pay real money to get more diamonds and things like that. And it's a crap game made worse by all of that sort of stuff. It doesn't have any of the humour of the show. I mean, the show is not particularly clever or funny, but I think the people who make it are quite clever and funny, and they know how to manipulate these kind of simple people. Not simple, but not engaged in the real world people, and to make them entertaining to watch, whereas this game is just kind of vacuous like they are. But I think I've spoken too much about Made in Chelsea for one episode of a video game podcast, so that's it.
It sounds like a kind of Sims ripoff.
Yeah, but without any of the depth. I mean,
I know, but that's a very, very clever move. I think of all the game types to mimic, that's the best one.
Oh yeah, and I can see a lot of people playing it, enjoying it. Similar, the people who watch Made in Chelsea and don't play video games because they don't know it's so shit. That sounded rude. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant they've not played probably versions of that game which are much better. So it's new to them.
All right. Okay. Well, stay away. I can't comment on the TV show because I don't have TV in my house. I haven't done for several years, mate. Read a book. Anyway.
Yeah, or listen to a podcast about computer games.
Yeah. Okay, well, my number 8 is a game called The Heckler on Xbox 360. It's an indie game, and it's the latest game from Silver Dollar Games.
Oh my god, that's so prolific.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're more prolific than usual now because basically I interviewed one half of Silver Dollar Games recently, which I'm going to put out as a podcast in the next couple of weeks. And he let me know that One Finger Death Punch has really, really undersold to the extent that it's like one of the biggest flops they've ever had. Which just
my god, what a treasure!
It doesn't make any sense because XSplit games don't get any coverage. That was reviewed in GamesTM, Eurogamer, Edge. It got proper coverage for an indie game, and it is genuinely superb. So the fact that it's sold less than some of their other stuff is somewhat bizarre. So they've rushed out the game I spoke about last week, which I thought was okay, sort of. I enjoyed it for what it was. This is far more difficult to defend. It's a really good idea, but it's so lazily executed. There's no concern for how it might play or potentially engage an audience. It's just... basically, there's a guy walking around the screen who must have been animated in 5 seconds. It looks like the Learn to Eat. It's basically a circle with 2 circles in it and a mouth, and he struts up and down on the stage, and you're the audience, and you're one guy in the audience, and every time you press A, you shout a heckle, and there's a heckle meter on the left, and you have to get as close to him getting so upset he storms off the stage. And without making him do that, and you have to keep him, the higher points, you have to sort of keep the needle at the top of the meter without going over it. It's every time you press the button, it goes up the same amount, so there's no skill. You just have to, every time it gets below a certain point, you press a button and it goes back up, and then you wait, and then you press it and it goes, and all the while you're listening to this guy deliver a monologue that's ridiculous. I mean, they've hired an actor to do the monologue, and it's ridiculous. It is mildly amusing if you listen to it because it's fucking gibberish what he's saying. Right. But you do this, you press one button for 10 minutes, and then it's the end of his show, and that's the end. It's really, really... It's so lazy that I can't even defend it or find anything good in it, because I know it's unfortunate that they've, One Finger Death Punch has underperformed when it's their, by 100 times, I think, their most expensive game. The fact that they're putting out crap like this, and I like what most people call crap from them. This I can't really defend. It really is shit. The Heckler. It's actually, but the problem again is that it's actually a good idea. If they had made that mini game of keeping that needle high reasonably interesting, but they haven't. It's lazy. It's off an assembly line. It's rubbish. I mean, really. Yeah.
It's a shame. The biggest shame is that game's not sold.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Really. I mean, they said to me when I interviewed them that we'll Learn to Eat. That's ridiculous. One joke premise about trying. I mean, it was amusing, and kids might enjoy it, but the fact that had outsold One Finger Death Punch, I don't. I mean, it's a mystery to me, that.
Yeah. Damn it. That game's so good.
It really is.
So good.
Which makes it all the weirder that the Heckler is so fucking terrible. Just, don't forget I spoke about it.
All right. It's a good idea, though.
It is.
All right, my number 8 is Grand Theft Auto Vice City on iPhone. In the times where I've not been playing GTA 5, I've just been almost just driving in a circle around Vice City listening to the music. The music is unbelievably good. I think I kind of almost took it for granted when it came out, that how good it was and how good a GTA soundtrack could be, but they nailed it in every single angle from every conceivable position. How many great tunes there are on that, to the point where I think it's been detrimental to every soundtrack they've done since, all of which are brilliant, that they kind of shot their wads so much on Vice City that they can't. I mean, I'd quite happily have some of these tunes again in the later games. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the game's sophisticated enough on the phone to really do many of the missions, because they are awkward and fiddly. But just driving around, it's still fun. I did it for hours and hours and hours back when the game came out, and I'll happily do it for time when I'm just sitting there on my phone again. So it's more so than GTA 3 because of the tunes. I'm just loving listening to that music while driving around. It does capture that essence of kind of coke snorting 80s better than anything else. Still, that kind of Scarfacey vibe.
Yeah.
Miami Vice.
Yeah.
They're obvious points of reference, but it really does manage to capture it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's funny because Vice City was always my favourite GTA.
Yeah, same.
And I don't know why I plumped for GTA 3 over that one, because I think they came out both 69p in a sale once.
Right.
It seems weird that I didn't just buy both or Vice City, but I don't know. So you're just driving around, you're not playing missions and stuff?
No, because I've done it all. I mean, it was years ago, but I can still remember it quite clearly, all the stuff you have to do, because I was completely obsessed with the game when it came out. But yeah, I also used to get really good at doing wheelies down South Beach and dodging in between all the cars and just getting in a fast car and seeing how quickly you could do a tour of the right-hand side of the map and stuff like that. And it's just kind of nice doing that again, listening to that music. Genuinely is. So, yeah, very glad I have it. It's just nice to put on.
All right, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, nothing more than that, really. Nothing particularly insightful to say.
All right. Okay, all right. Well, I don't have much insightful to say about this either. My number 7 is a game called Smule Piano. Have you ever heard of anything called Smule?
What's Smule? The only thing I know is it's my brother's gamer tag almost, but...
Oh yeah, no, it's Smule. It's a series of apps, games on the iPhone, App Store, iOS devices, and they mimic... they're little rhythm action games, and there's several instruments. So there's a piano one, there's a guitar one, there's different instruments.
Right.
And yeah, it's kind of like a Guitar Hero sort of situation. There's these orbs raining down. I mean, they're different actually. The guitar one, that you have these mocked up strings and you sort of strum. The piano one, which I've played and which my girlfriend is completely obsessed with, it kind of, these orbs rain down the screen and you tap them. There's 3 different difficulties and they're vastly different. I mean, hard looks impossible even to her, and she's already sort of smashing it on medium. She was talking me through it, and because she is literally obsessed with it, playing it. I mean, she's so obsessed that she paid £27 for like a season pass that gives you access to all. Yeah, there's all these songs. It's across all of those Smule apps.
Right.
But I think it's a year's subscription to a load of pop songs and stuff. Yeah, she was telling me like there's ghosts of, as you're playing it, you have to anticipate where notes are coming if you've not played it before, and there's a ghostly thing you can just see if you look hard enough, and it's really. You know how most people, I'd say most gamers who played Guitar Hero, they get to, not even to expert, they get to hard and just think, that's just, no thank you. I will get no interest from that. If I'm going to do something that difficult, I'll learn how to play the real guitar. I got that feeling from playing this, and I played on easy.
Wow.
I thought I was going to get hooked as hooked as she is, because it is another sort of Bimani game, that the type of which I fucking love, but it was instantaneously too difficult. It's really, the implementation of some of the stuff's really nice. I mean, she's like top of the leaderboard in the world for something or other, and then she can take that video and put it on the website, and then you can email URLs to people, and you can hear the tune being played and stuff. Yeah, it's really hard, really impressive, but for some reason it just left me quite cold. I think primarily what I said is it just seemed too difficult to me. It didn't seem worth the reward, but It's a nice little bit of kit, and it's the one thing that's nice is hearing pop songs played on piano makes you realise sometimes that pop songs you thought you hated or you thought were sort of stupid and unsophisticated are actually just as compositions really quite lovely, and it's nice to hear. So Blink 182, some of their songs you're like, wow, fuck, I never gave that credit for actually being a really nice composition of music. So yeah, I mean they're all free. The music costs extra, but yeah, I don't get it. Too hard for me.
I might check it out. That does sound quite cool, though. I want to check it out.
I tried it. I mean, the other ones seem. I mean, they haven't grabbed my girlfriend as much as the piano one, and that's the one that seems to have the most people playing it because there's loads of leaderboard support and stuff.
Could you do it on a phone? Do you think, or do you need something bigger?
She's using an iPad Mini, but I'm sure you can. Yeah, it's all very straightforward. You've got an iPad, haven't you?
Yeah, I got the first one. Nothing works on it anymore.
Maybe that will, though, because this apparently has been around for ages.
Oh, really?
Smule. I mean, yeah, you should try it. But yeah, the phone will probably work just fine, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Sound. Sand. Literally. My number 7 is a game I talked about last week very briefly that I'd forgotten I'd even played. So I thought I'd give it a fair shake this week. It's Luftrausers on PC. I think it's coming to Vita and PS4 as well. Of course it is. They all are these days. This is the new game or one of the new games I should say, from Vlambeer, the people who make Ridiculous Fishing, Super Crate Box, loads of other stuff. I think they're Dutch. And this is a game where you spawn a biplane, basically. It's in a kind of, I'm going to say monochrome. It's probably not. It's like maybe a sepia monochrome. That probably doesn't even mean anything. But you spawn a little biplane. It's got those kind of very old-fashioned, almost Atari-esque graphics. And you're flying around as a biplane 2D, and other planes are trying to shoot you. For some reason, you can dive your biplane underwater and come back out, which is kind of cool. And the central mechanic of the game is basically to survive as long as possible, but you'll regain health when you stop shooting. So you can hold the fire button down, kill everything, but the only way you're going to regain health, you have a little health bar, is to stop shooting. So then basically the challenge becomes killing everything and then dodging, and then I didn't play it for a huge amount of time, but it did seem that instantly the flow of the game was going to be in balancing clearing danger, trying to dodge bullets, clearing danger, trying to dodge bullets, trying to last as long as possible, and everything ramps up. It just seemed like a really cool game. Very, very cool from people who make really cool games and know how to make really cool games. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a great fit on Vita. And yeah, it's just good. Those guys are good. It has a cool style to it in the menus, the way you can choose different loadouts and stuff for your little biplane, but it's all done with a very similar sense of humour to Ridiculous Fishing. Those guys they seem to like stuff that's kind of intricate but daft at the same time, and that definitely works for me. So Luftrausers, I don't know when it's out. It seemed like it was finished, so I think it's out quite soon. Check it out. Keep tabs on it anyway. Luftраusers, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's an umlaut up in there at some point.
Okay. So you reckon it might be out now?
No. It's definitely not out now, but I think it might be out in the near future rather than in some distant time.
Okay. All right.
Fuck it hell.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I reckon you'd like it especially.
All right.
It's your cup of tea.
All right. Okay, my number 6 is FIFA 14 on the Xbox 360. Two of my friends have jumped ship already. I know the patch is going live this week, and one of our listeners very kindly suggested that we put everything down to manual, which I hadn't thought to do, and apparently that changes everything because your opponents are all playing on manual as well. I haven't had the time to do that, primarily because the two people I play it with have jumped ship, and I feel weary about the situation now. I mean, it's awful that Pro Evo still doesn't work online, and I don't know why no one's shouting about it, because that's criminal. Almost.
It is.
But this, I mean, the amount of games we lost unjustly, and the amount of lob through balls that went through, and the amount of headers off corners, and it feels fucked. I mean, the patch is coming at the end of this week, but like I said, two of my mates have jumped ship to FIFA to Pro Evo already, so we're just kind of sitting and waiting for that to be, for God's sake, to be able to play that online on the Xbox. It's a shame. FIFA's great. It's just that.
So why are they jumping ship?
Because we both it's Fraser and Jay. We played between us. I say I had 10 games against each of them, and I reckon between us all together we had about 15 on co-op. And
Right.
I mean, especially when we were playing on co-op, me and Fraser were doing some really great stuff. And, you know, the fact that the sort of flow of play can allow you to do that stuff means that it's not a total write-off. But we were peppering people, and then you just see them get 2 goals off 2 headers or 2 long through. I mean, you lose in the most piss-poor way imaginable. Yeah. It is broken, genuinely. When you see people just ping-ponging lofted through balls, and they're getting to attackers, I don't know. It's as fucked in a way as Pro Evo is. I'm going to keep hold of it, and hopefully the patch will right all of those terrible wrongs. But there is a part of me that is just like, I'm just kind of fucking so fed up. There's nothing worse than losing to somebody who you know you've outplayed, and then they sit and force you to watch their replays and stuff like that. It's just, I can't be pissing bothered with it. I'd rather sort of... Pro Evo just seems like a warmer place to be at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a damn shame. That is a damn shame. But yeah, I'm hearing plenty of complaints. I think the patch might have gone up today. We're recording on a Wednesday this week. I'm hearing some patch might have gone up today. Okay. Nerfing headers and those lofted through balls was mentioned as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope they've done, because it is absurd at the moment. So hopefully.
Damn. Okay, my number 6 is, I won't bang on about it at all. It's Velocity, just trying to get all those golds. Still an amazing game. Still recommend it to everybody. Very excited about the new game that's coming out next year. Seems to be building up a bit of momentum, or that may just be, what did I call it, positive reinforcement? No, that's not it. Just the fact that I'm thinking about it more, so I'm just seeing it more. Confirmation bias, that's it. But anyway, it does seem to be, hopefully, more people are going to be excited about that game, and hopefully more people will jump back and play Velocity Ultra. I don't think I have anything else to add to it. I banged on about it a lot last week. But excited. It's just excited. It just makes me happy about games. A lot about games, and the things around it annoys me. Not in a cynical way, it just kind of drags me down a bit, and I have to fight to get my passion and positivity back. Where you switch on that game and it's easy. It's just it just goes. You go, oh yeah, video games, they're fucking great when you get to play them. They're just great. So yeah, all powers of that game.
Okay, I will at some point be in the room with someone who owns a Vita, and I'll make them download it, and I'll have to play it. I do have to play it at some point. Like I said, I'm weary about the PlayStation 3 version, probably unjustly, but I'll play it at some point.
Yeah, it's a shame they don't bang Ultra onto the PS3 as a new version.
But are they different?
It's native for Vita. Ultra is, whereas the original is a PS Mini.
But I mean,
but on PS3.
But the game itself is not different.
The game is the same, but Ultra, it looks a lot nicer. But another thing, it has you can do. It won't make sense if you've not played it, but you can fire bombs with the right stick on Ultra, which I'm pretty sure you can't do in the original. And I'd imagine it'd be way harder to get golds without that ability. But it'd still be great.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll see. Watch this space. Okay, all right. My number 5 is the Battlefield 4 beta. Continue to play it quite a bit. You haven't gone back to it, have you, at all?
No, I'm very much of the mind that I'm happy to play it when it comes out on next gen. Although, as you rightly said, I do have a PC, and I should have just downloaded the Open Beta for PC. But for some reason, I just forgot that I have a powerful PC.
You can still do it. I thought
it was finished.
I thought it was finished, and I don't know why I didn't know this, because I don't think it was a surprise. But they announced today that obliteration mode is going to be rolled out. It's actually rolled out today, and it happened around lunchtime. And I assumed that it was going to have happened by the time we recorded, because me and Zeno turned it on at about 8 o'clock this evening on Wednesday. And it's still, the servers were there, so we managed to go to server browser and jump into an obliteration game. But obviously, because if you look at server browser on the beta, everything says it's got no players in it. So if players were doing what we did, they wouldn't be able to. But anyway, hopefully next week, or hopefully they'll be up by now. But anyway,
so what is obliteration mode?
Well, we only discerned that because we jumped into the server and looked at the rules. It looks like both teams have 3 bases, and there's 3 bombs. But I can't work out if you carry a bomb like you do in Sabotage and COD. It seemed the explanations on the menu didn't make a whole lot of sense. So the short answer is I've got no fucking clue. I'll be able to tell you. I'll be able to tell you next week. But yeah, we've continued to play a lot of it on Conquest. I think it's a really great map. I've seen a lot of people say that it's a rubbish map, and they express disdain at those elevators in the middle of the, in the skyscraper. It's really, really exciting because you have to use teamwork. It's like a lot of Battlefield maps. There was one instance, I might have talked about this last week because I can't remember when it was, but 4 of us went up in 4 elevators. Ding, 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 ding. So they'd all run to one elevator thinking we were all going to come out of there. Meanwhile, we just came out. It was like a structured attack, and we just took everybody out from the top of that building. And then the building got taken down. It was all for nothing. But it's a really cool map. I really like it. And yeah, Batters, it's good, I hope.
Yeah, I'm excited to play it on PS4 on my own because nobody else that I know is getting a PS4 now. But but if that is the case with the beta, I will download it on PC and check it out. I don't think my PC is powerful enough to run it as it's supposed to look. Well, I think you need to buy some sort of fucking £1 million PC for that. But
I mean, it will run it, won't it?
Oh, it'll run it good, but it's difficult. Where I am with PC games, knowing that the option to have it even better is in there, but my machine isn't good enough to do it, is upsetting.
Yeah. No, I can understand that.
Yeah. All right, my number 5, are we on? Mm-hmm. Is a game called Coconut Dodge on iPhone. In my research about Velocity, obviously it's made by Future Lab, so I wanted to check out. For some reason, I thought it was their first game, but it's not. They made a few games, but they made Coconut Dodge, which is an iOS game that's been around for a while. And it featured on Eurogamer ages ago. And I'd heard of it. It's a game very simple game where you control a crab and coconuts and coins fall out of the sky and you have to move the crab left and right to dodge the coconuts and get the coins. It's a very simple looking game. It looks like about 10 billion other games on iOS, but the more you play it, you realise that it's got so much in common with Velocity. It's insane. It's actually almost the same game, but stripped down to a very, very, very simple form. You move the crab left and right, but you can also there's a turbo button, so you can move them twice as fast. And if you press the turbo button twice, like double tap it, you almost teleports across the screen. And the way the coconuts fall eventually turn into almost mazes, so they almost form upwardly scrolling levels, even though things aren't actually scrolling, they're just falling down the screen. And you have to try and collect coins, and then gems will appear, and they'll appear in difficult things, so you have to quickly go like turbo under a bunch of coconuts and turbo back out. So in actual fact, as you start to get a bit better at it, you realise that you're almost doing the same things as you are in Velocity, like basically teleporting underneath things to get things, and it's so similar. The DNA's all there. So understandably, it's again really fun. It's not as good as Velocity, don't get me wrong, but it's a fun game and it's kept me entertained quite a lot. And my little boy loves it because he just likes crabs for some reason. But it's good. People always said it was good. I think it's available on Vita and a few other things as well. But it was surprising me that they did it because in terms of like aesthetics and style, it couldn't be further from Velocity. But it actually shares a lot of its genealogy. It's good.
All right. Is it free?
I think it was 69p, or maybe it was free. I don't know. At that point, I was like, I'll pay anything for any of their games.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Okay, my number 4 is Grand Theft Auto 5. It might have been higher, but I've put it at 4. Is it on your list?
Yeah, it's a bit higher.
Stupid question. Okay, well, we'll wait until you get to it then.
Oh, okay, cool. My number 4 is Boson X, the game you played last week.
Oh, yeah.
The man running through a tunnel, Super Hexagon type game. Yeah, it's really good. Really cool game. It's, like you described last week, you play as a man. He looks like the guy from Flashback. You were spot on there.
Another World.
Yeah, I get
me too. No, yeah, me too.
Yeah, he looks like the dude from Another World. But he's running into the void, into a tunnel. The tunnel seems to be made out of platforms in the shape of a hexagon, almost like you're running through the world in Frequency, isn't it?
Yeah.
And platforms will appear on the left and right of you, and you tap to the left or right of the screen. The guy will jump. If you tap right, he'll jump into the right. If you tap left, he'll jump into the left. If you tap both sides, he just jumps straight up. And the idea being that you want to not fall down, and you want to land on the blue energy platforms, build up 100% energy, complete the level. really, really, really hard. I get the comparisons to Super Hexagon, the music, the fact that you're kind of manipulating what seems like an impossible world, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the fact that the patterns do eventually repeat themselves. But it also feels obviously completely different because it's a 3D moving through space game and a platformer. But I do like it a lot. It's not as perfect as Super Hexagon, but it's almost an unfair comparison anyway.
Yeah.
But I do like it a lot. It's fucking hard though, like almost frustratingly hard. But it kind of captivated me for a good decent amount of time, and one of the best iOS, like pure iOS games I've played in ages. I don't really have a hell of a lot more to add to it than that. I don't think I've got to the points where maybe its true complexities start to reveal themselves, but yeah, I played plenty of it and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's not a complex game, and I think I said that last week as well. I don't have a whole lot to say. It's just a really good endless runner, and it never got frustrating for me. But maybe you ventured a little bit further into it than I did. Did you? So you played the iOS version, not the PC?
Yes, yeah, I played it on my phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't imagine it would be better on a. I think it's a perfect fit for the phone.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, Boson X.
Yeah, Boson X. I mean, I think it's boson-x.com. Just Google Boson X and you can download the PC. And
is he running into the Higgs, Large Hadron Collider? Is that the story of the game?
I never thought about that, but probably
looking for the Higgs boson thing. Yeah, because that's a great idea for anything. Well done.
Yeah,
I love fucking ideas like that. Here's a game that's come up with the most absurd plotline possible, and then that's the game. But it could have been anything. It could just be a guy running through a tunnel. So yeah, credit.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that in you can't make a film about that.
No, you can't. No, that's very true. But yeah, it's good. Boson X, check it. My number 3 is NBA 2K14 on the PlayStation.
I actually really want to play this.
Why this one?
I haven't played one. It's one of those games where I probably play one every 3 years, and I'm getting the itch again now. Or the last one I played was the one that was all Jordan. Maybe that was 2 years ago.
No, it was 2K11. So yeah, that was
okay. Perfect. Yeah,
3 years ago. This is difficult. There's a lot of symmetry between my number 3 and my number 2. But yeah, my number 3 is NBA 2K14. There's a lot. I think the gap between what NBA 2K games are and what FIFA is, I think they're basically neck and neck. Just every year quality, every year innovation. Although this year you'd say that FIFA hasn't innovated as much as past year, and you'd say that about NBA 2K14. It's really difficult. It still looks, when you start playing the game, it still looks like television. The presentation is second to none. It really is. And even if you're not a massive fan of basketball, as I'm not really at all, and I don't follow it, it's difficult not to get sucked in just because of how incredible it looks. But it's 2K11 was the Michael Jordan version. The 2K12, I think there were differences in gameplay. 2K13 was the. I'm getting mixed up, I think. Anyway, 2K. The big thing in 2K11 was the Michael Jordan. It was basically the Michael Jordan edition, and this is the LeBron James edition.
Right.
And it's interesting because the Michael Jordan one was all about looking to the past and sort of reliving some of his classic games and stuff. And this is like a fantasy about the LeBron James's future.
Okay.
At the beginning, it's a nice mode. It just kind of doesn't go far enough. You can basically stay with his current team as he is in the real world and just go and prolong what they call the dynasty. So you basically create as his career you expect would pan out anyway. Or you can take something that they call the fantastic journey, and you can see what happens if you experiment with putting him with other teams and stuff. It's not completely open-ended, so you can't take him and put him in a really shit team and see what happens. You can only pick from a handful. But it is nice. It's it's all about what ifs. Yeah. What would happen if you? Yeah. And the thing is, I don't know if this has happened in a football game. I might be wrong, but when you play through that mode, and if you take the fantastic journey, the longer it goes on, like real players, they also start to go to different teams, and that's why it felt like a game that would be great for couch co-op for fans of the sport. Because you'd be like, oh, fucking so-and-so's joined my team, or like, hey, your star guy's gone to another side, which seemed like quite a nice idea. But as time goes on, the players' stats start to decrease.
Okay.
So once great players start to lose, and you can see them going to shit teams and stuff like that. And I don't know, would that happen in a football game? It seems like
that does happen in the career modes of FIFA and things like that.
But you can play it through. It doesn't technically go into the future, does it?
How do you mean?
Well, because this starts from now, and you're supposed to chart what happens over the next few years.
Well, yeah, if you play FIFA's career mode long enough, all the players will start getting worse and retiring and getting sold to worse teams and things.
Wow, now you say it, I suppose. But
I don't think it's as engagingly done as how this sounds.
Yeah, I mean, they do make a big point of how time is passing and how it's a nice mode. It's just that you can only pick from a handful of variables all the time, and like I said, if you really want to just take the piss and go and sort of throw them in with a really, really ragtag bunch of nobodies, you can't do that.
Right.
But it's a nice mode, but there's none of the brio and kind of the showmanship of the Michael Jordan. I mean, I still remember how the Michael Jordan game started, where you were walking up the tunnel and you walked up, and Michael Jordan was there just like, you ready for this? And then all the flashbulbs came out and you walked out and then you were straight into a game, and I was like, fuck, what an awesome way to start a game. This has none of that. It's kind of very matter of fact, sort of still menus, occasional voiceover from LeBron James, who not a guy I've heard of. I'm not aware of him, but he does sound like a bit of a charisma vacuum when he's talking. Not that he's supposed to be an actor or anything, but every time I heard his voice, I was just kind of like, I don't really want to hear this guy talk anymore.
Yeah, he's definitely more of the Wayne Rooney than the Cristiano Ronaldo, I think, in terms of it all happens on the court.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, despite not knowing anything of what you just said. It's weird because this game's coming out in a few weeks on next gen, and I don't know if there's going to be.
I watched that footage.
What footage?
They released footage of NBA 2K14 for PS4, I think around E3, and it looked ridiculous. Like, it looked absurd. It looked completely real. So yeah, I'm going to hold fire and get it on that.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if there's any fundamental changes to the game. But yeah, I mean, they've changed the controls, and last year I remember speaking about this because they did this control stick control style where everything was mapped to the sticks.
Yeah.
This year they've made the right stick so it's exclusively used for skill moves and shooting, and the left the left trigger you used for shooting last year is now used for passing, and it was just like there's no benefit to this. They've just changed shit for no reason. The amount of times I was like, fuck, because I'd go for a shot and I'd pass, and I was like, for fuck's sake, I don't really understand the benefit. But then again, as with any sports game, you can't really judge something like that until you've played it for a year, which makes them incredibly difficult to review, really.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's just a bit. It's not that every year with those games, like with FIFA until this year, it was always like tactical defending. They'd always shake everything up and try and make it as best as it can be, and also making it feel like a different game whilst also building upon incredible achievements, really, when you think about it. This doesn't really. I mean, they've changed the blocking system. I mean, I know in 2K13 you couldn't block dunks, which was always quite bizarre because you could in previous games. They brought that back, which means it's no longer impossible to defend. And yeah, it's good. It's just, it feels like a game I'm going to talk about in a minute, because you're just like, you do more normally. Why have you kind of sort of cut it short? Maybe we're at the end of the hardware generation. Less people are buying games. Maybe why sort of expend a load of money on making changes that I guess aren't necessary. I mean, everything's the same. My team, which is basically the Ultimate Team, it's the same as far as I can see. My career, again, self-explanatory, is the same. There's no real changes. I mean, it's still... I'd say if you're interested in it, get 2K13.
Unless you love LeBron James.
But then again, it's not this. It's not like the love letter like the Michael Jordan one was. I mean, that was such a great. I mean, even as somebody, like I said, who doesn't follow basketball, it was just they really put. It was just so much about showmanship. Whereas this is kind of like, here's some still menus and here's a guy talking over it who doesn't seem like he gives a shit about anything. It's good. It's a good game. But £40, probably not.
It's tough. It's tough. I think I will get it next gen though, just because of that footage. And I'm up for playing it again after a few years. Yeah,
definitely. No, I mean that's as long as they don't screw it up.
Awesome. All right, sports as well for me for number 3. It is Pro Evo. I'm furious about the situation with the fact is you can't play online on Xbox. We explained this before, but it's. You have to download a data pack, as they call it in the game. This has been the same for the last few Pro Evos. It just basically means, this one's pathetically, I think, just a tiny few minor updates. It takes forever to download, and it corrupts every time you do. You literally can't play online without it. And the game's been out, by the time this podcast comes out, I think it's been 3 weeks. And it's still not fixed. I think Konami are blaming Microsoft. Microsoft aren't talking. Doesn't matter. people who bought this game for 40 quid, 35 quid, whatever, can't play it online. It's a fucking appalling situation. I mean, it's in terms of like consumer rights and things, that's fucking crap. Especially for a sports game where fundamentally the joy comes from competitive play, as we talked about. However, saying all that, I have been enjoying the Master League mode quite a lot. I used to play Master League religiously when I was younger, all through my late teens, all through university instead of going to uni. Played it sporadically since, but because I've not been able to play online and I just want to play a football game, I have actually played a ton of Master League, and it's still kind of as good as ever. Master League's always been a weird thing. It doesn't really make... It is like a football career mode, but it isn't because it's so weird. They've done away with the cutscenes and stuff for the last few games, and you used to win. In the last game, you won like vitamins and bananas and stuff. That was just fucking weird. It's gone back to... It's way more streamlined and good now, but it still does weird stuff like... Your players go away on international duty and it tells you, fine, thanks for telling me, but every single time it just brings up the same slow motion footage of the same guy to the screen. And in my game, it's Fellaini from Man United, you know, the guy with the giant hair. Yeah. So it just has a slow mo thing of him coming up to the screen. He's like, and he just disappears. I was like, that's fucking weird. Why would you put that in the game? It's terrible. But the game itself is good. It's definitely better playing the AI on this than it ever was in FIFA. It just manages to be nicely dramatic without ever feeling like it's screwing me over too much. So I'm not getting those things where the computer's dancing around me and it feels like it's cheating too much. It does happen sometimes, but I've had some great games, some great draws, some great wins, and I'm enjoying it, but I am fucked off. Overall, I'm fucked off still. This game deserves a lot better than not being able to play it. And then they're talking about signing up for the 11 versus 11 beta that's going to be coming in a patch. It's like, fuck all that.
Yeah.
Fix this shit.
Get the game online, for Christ's sake. Yeah, I mean, it really is awful. I only play football games online, really. That's all. Unless it's local. But it is mental, the fact that they're clean. I mean, especially to not only that, they've killed the momentum that they had at launch, where people were going out on a limb and saying they've finally done it. It's finally better than FIFA. We've been talking about it for years. Here we go, 9 out of 10 Eurogamer, loads of high scores, and now they've just shot that in the face by. I mean, I'm tempted to get rid of it. I never will because it's too fucking great a football game. But 3 weeks?
Yeah, and no sign. No sign of,
no one's talking about it. I haven't heard any updates since a couple of websites post like, oh yeah, it's still not applied. But it's like, what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, and what's crazy is like the perception is that this game doesn't sell massively well, and and it doesn't sell anywhere near like FIFA. But if you go onto the Pro Evo Facebook page, because my video game review got picked up by their Facebook page, and it just suddenly the numbers absolutely flew. We went onto the Facebook page. They've got over 9 million likes on Facebook for Pro Evo. It's like, that's fucking big, and it's because the game does huge numbers in South America and
in Europe as well.
Yeah, and across Europe. Not so much even in England, and it's still a massive game, and that's why they keep making it every single year. I think more so than I thought. I thought it did around the 1 million mark, but clearly it does a fair amount more than that. I think it's more up in sort of 6-7 million mark every year, which makes it a huge game. It's just not as big as FIFA. And for such a huge game, for this to happen, I mean, I'm getting updates every day because I decided to follow a bunch of people, including the community manager for Prez and a bunch of like high-profile players, a lot of people who make the options files, and then people he follows, just to see what the hell's going on. And yeah, apparently a patch came out today and it's not fixed it. Brilliant.
Data packs? I mean, it's so PS2. What are they doing?
I know. And
you can't even download it from the dashboard of the Xbox. You have to do it, and if your Xbox shuts off like it did, like I said before. I mean, I just don't know what... Is the community manager still that little bald guy?
No, it's a guy called Adam Batty, Bhatti.
All right, okay.
I think that guy is now the head producer or even director of the PES London studio or something like that. John Murphy, I assume you're talking about.
That's right, sorry, John Murphy. I didn't know his name. What a shame. What a damn shame.
It is, because you're completely right, it has killed the momentum. I'm holding tight because I'm enjoying it anyway, and when it comes, and thankfully I've had other stuff to play, so it's not been the be all and end all. But if you're a person whose your September is one football game, your year is a few games a year, and football game being the central one of that. And I tell you what, I say it like that because that was me when I couldn't afford many games, especially around uni time and end of school. So probably, football game time was my big decision of the year. If you went out on a limb, maybe you listened to the show, maybe you read my review, maybe you read the Eurogamer review, maybe you whatever you did, and you bought Pro Evo, I just feel fucking bad, man. Yeah. I feel bad for recommending it right now.
It's a terrible situation.
It is.
Yeah. And yeah, like you say, it doesn't appear to be as big as it is, but I used to work for a retailer, and the amount of people that PES outsold FIFA across Europe every time.
Really?
By quite a substantial margin. So this is I'm trying to the whole of the last week I've been trying to think, has there ever been a game of this size that's been this fucked and no one's talking about it, no one's making sort of actions to fix it?
Not without nobody talking about it. I mean, SimCity was obviously a disaster, but
that's true. That
was the number one news story. I mean, the websites absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Pro Evo.
Fucking shame. Okay. Well, my number 2 is F1 2013 on the PlayStation 3.
It's so confusing that all the sports games are 2014 apart from
F1. Yeah, I bet they're kicking themselves. I wonder
because they can't change it now, really, can they?
Not really. And I wonder if it was made in a sort of haphazard situation where some guy made a mistake and now he's homeless.
Do you know what I bet it is? I would guess, this is based on nothing more than a guess, but I reckon it was F1 themselves.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, because they're so funny and so I think they're quite a controlling brand. My impression of them. This is from someone who knows nothing, knows nothing about F1, but they are. I'm pretty sure of that is the case. They're very controlling. Everything's tight. Yeah. I reckon it's that because otherwise, only because I can't understand why you would make your game sound older than the biggest game in one of the biggest games in the world in FIFA and every other sports game as well, and Madden and everything. Why would you when it's someone along the line of all the people involved in this game would have said something. So I reckon it might be that they have to do it in line with the current season or something like that.
Yeah, but that's weird as well because these games now come out right towards the end of the F1 season and everything's up to date only as far as the end of November or whenever the season finishes. It's why are they doing it like this? Either it's a great idea or it's a really dumb idea because I suppose it keeps people going until the next season starts. But it seems a little bit weird that all tennis games, football games, they always start at sort of football games. There's no relevance to when they launch, is it? I mean, tennis games always launch just before Wimbledon.
Football games always launch just after the start of the season.
Is that right?
About a month after.
But it's Christmas, really, isn't it? That's the real.
Yeah, but it's sort of striking the balance between the two.
All right, I don't know what we're talking about anymore. But anyway, F1 2013. This is exactly like NBA 2K14, only much more so. I think you have no business buying this if you own F1 2012. Similarly, if you're thinking about buying this one and you're not a stickler for roster updates and all that stuff, get F1 2012, I say. Beyond Two Souls came out this week and we've been speaking about it. We will be speaking about it in a minute. But I read a review, or maybe it was 2 reviews, where somebody or 2 people said, this Beyond is one of the hardest games I've ever had to score. I didn't know what to give it. I guarantee nobody was as pondered as much over a review score as I did over F1 2013. I went from a 5 to a 6 to a 7 to an 8 and back through all of those combinations until I settled on what I did. I won't say what it is because the magazine's not out, but I really didn't know what to give it because basically it does even less than NBA 2K14 and the problem is that it's still an excellent game. What do you say? The game is fundamentally excellent. Ever since they relaunched F1 games on Next Gen, when was it, 2010 or 2011?
Yeah, when Codemasters took over.
Yeah, they're excellent. Truly, and but in comparison to last year, one thing they've done, something that I kind of liked about last year's one, it was so English. The opening montage was 70-80% footage of Brands Hatch in the rain, and it had that Noel Gallagher song, "Oh What a Life," and I remember I was just like, this is the most depressing opening to a racing game of all time. Now it's Monaco sunsets and there's a really portentous voiceover. This is where legends are made. This is F1, and like a mock Hans Zimmer score. It's much more traditional and kind of like, oh, all right, okay, I suppose they're trying to, I don't know, I kind of like the eccentricity of the game before this. it's difficult. There's a couple of sort of challenge modes thrown in. I mean, the big centerpiece is this classic mode, which seems like a really nice idea. There's a handful of classic tracks and drivers and cars and stuff like that. And they've roped in Murray Walker, which is, as soon as you hear his voice, you're like, fuck, I forgot. I never thought I'd be able to... He was so synonymous with F1 for my entire life.
Yeah.
But I looked it up, and the guy's 89 years old, and when you hear him talk, you're like, God, he just doesn't sound like he belongs anywhere near a microphone. I mean, he sounds old, and he's tired and uninterested. I just hope he did something worthwhile with the money he got for doing it. But they've done scuzzy filters. Everything looks kind of faggy. I mean, like cigarette stained. I don't mean like.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Kind of like yellow, sort of dirty. And kind of, so look, I mean, they've put a lot into the presentation, but there's not much to it. There's only a handful of sort of cars and drivers and stuff like that. It's basically a souped-up gateway for DLC. Which is why there's two versions of the game. You can buy the vanilla version, and then you can buy the version with all the extra stuff, and there's more DLC coming, I believe. So it just feels like it's not really a thing. It's like, here's this extra thing you can buy if you want to sort of splash a bit of money on it. Again, like NBA 2K14, the changes are quite hard to discern until you've played it for a lot of time. I mean, racing it for several hours as I did, the AI felt more aggressive, and it was always much harder to overtake. And driving on the wet, which was never... in the old games, much. It was kind of like, driving on the wet. I mean, there were times when I wouldn't notice I was driving on wet tarmac until halfway through a race. But in this one, like, you spin out a fuck of a lot. Taking corners in the wet is really, really taxing. You can also save mid-lap now, which is really good because career mode is one of the longest career modes in any game ever. Yeah. It takes forever, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you're a bit of a hero if you can go through an entire career on it on an F1 game, because boy oh boy, it takes forever. I know there's been race engineers in the past games. I can't remember whether you really interacted with them. I mean, there's a race engineer in this, and he's animated, and he looks like a bit of a stiff, and he kind of talks to you like you've just banged your head. Box. When you hear box, you roll into the pit lane. Yes, you know. And he talks like slightly robotically, and the guy doing the voice doesn't sound natural or anything like that. It's just the the other thing. I think the first time they implemented it was last year, but the F1 games now have the best tutorial of any game, hands down, as far as I'm concerned, because they give you, even if you don't know anything about F1, you're not interested in it at all, you don't care about cars, and that's me basically. So I've kind of learned about F1 through these games almost exclusively. But when you're doing these tutorials, young driver challenges or something, I think they're called. They give you this non-stop matter-of-fact information, no faffing around, just information. Like, what's KERS and DRS? Do you know?
Only through playing the last year's game.
Okay. Why it's good to, why it's so important when to accelerate off the apex of a corner, and how to preserve your tyres, how to drive so that your tyres are preserved. All of this stuff that most games either wouldn't explain, or they do it in a sort of a page full of text that's unreadable. It's just really, really concise, and I feel like I was an encyclopedia when I mean, this is exactly the way I felt last year. I still remember when I finally got into career mode. I was like, I know so much about how F1 cars handle, about how they, all of this information that I just think it's brilliant. I think it's so well done. But yeah. It's just it doesn't. It's last year's game with a slightly cynical DLC portal tacked onto it. There are a couple of challenge missions and stuff. It's just it's the most no effort. You know what I mean? It's just I could never recommend this to someone who owns last year's game. And if you're thinking about getting this again, get last year's. There's not enough to it. It's nice to hear Murray Walker again, but it's DLC. It's not really the content's not really there.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's very tough. I don't need or want to play it myself.
But that's the problem. I was dismissive. I was like, this is rubbish. It's not rubbish. It's actually a fucking brilliant game. But so was last year's.
Yeah.
And it didn't. I mean, classic mode is a real play for like older gamers. It's a smart move, but the content's not there unless you pay for the extra version. And even then, I don't think there's quite enough content to justify an extra game. It's a shame. I really was. How do you score an excellent game that's this, full price that came out last year with a couple of cursory add-ons? I don't know. I was disappointed because I expected them again to do something a little bit more substantial than this, but bollocks.
Yeah, it's just one of those games that just doesn't really suit coming out every year. But
yeah, it doesn't really. But then again, if you love F1, I mean, it went to number 3, didn't it? So it's done
people
really
do
well.
fucking love F1. All right. My number 2 then is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, yeah.
A game that I've played a ton of. First off, I have to say, kind of going back to the PES thing, not only has getting online been a nightmare, it's kind of all right now, but it has appeared to have broken my single-player game to the point where I have no more missions. I was at about 52% in or something like that, and I have no more single-player missions. The main story missions have gone, and the game actually allowed me to do a mission which shouldn't have allowed me to do for much later in the game. One of the very last missions of the game suddenly popped up. I did it, and as I was doing the cutscenes, it didn't really make any sense. It felt completely out of place, like I'd fallen asleep during a film and woken up and not realised I'd fallen asleep.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the last score, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. There's I've only done 40 missions out of 69, and sure enough, it was wrong, and that's just killed everything. So thankfully, I had a previous save, but that previous save was all the way back at 30%. So even though I haven't had to go back to the beginning of the game, I've had to go back a long way, which is a pain in the balls because it's not a short game.
No,
so yeah, it's kind of killed my enthusiasm for rushing through to the end. Now I will do it, and I don't really replaying great missions isn't really the end of the world. And a lot of the time that I'd spent was just fucking about, which I don't need to redo. But yeah, that's fucking hell. Just don't. It's just why can't people just put games out that work at the moment?
Yeah, I know.
Everything in my life is just like this at the moment. But did get into online finally. I was lucky that I got in reasonably early compared to most people, but I was finally starting to enjoy it. We played some earlier just before recording, and we played some the other day as well. Chet and I and some of the guys that we know, and certainly when we were in free roam earlier today, that was a hell of a lot of fun, even though we weren't doing anything particularly significant or consequential. But then you jump into the missions, and they're less fun. Certainly the one that we just did, where we all had to try and find these cars at the top end of the map, which took forever. It was a bit of a pain in the arse. And the death matches aren't, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to play deathmatch third-person shooter, play Gears. If you're going to play a racing game, I think the races are actually quite good if you're playing with people you know, but it's no need for speed. Those missions are where it's at, but it's kind of hard to get into them. Sitting in lobbies for ages, it's not like a smooth transition like it is in Need for Speed or Burnout Paradise. But just one last thing, you dived off to come and record this, and I decided to stay on for one more game. We played a mission which I'd heard about called Top Fun, as in Top Gun, which is a bunch of players on dirt bikes have to get from somewhere north on the map down to the docks at the south of the city, and the other team is chasing them in fighter jets, smashing up the ground with missiles and fucking machine gun fire in fighter jets. And the first time I did it was on the dirt bike, and you're weaving in and out of traffic, and the whole screen's shaking with explosions of these jets, and you see them flying across the sunset as you're just panicking on this dirt bike. A brilliant mode that I could have happily probably played all evening. That should just be an instant select. Top Fun mode or fighters jets v bikes mode should. I'm sure in a patch they'll realise that, and that will just be something you can do really easily, instead of it just hopefully appearing on your voting thing. But that was great. That's the best thing I've played in it so far. Yeah,
it's difficult. I'm starting to think that the GTA Online in my head is not going to be anything like the GTA Online in reality. I mean, the most fun by far has been in free roam. Just laughing our heads off, just pulling liquor store robbery. I mean, just the other day when me and you started, I got out and robbed loads of stores, and we were flying around in a chopper. That was great. Just fun. Are any of the missions going to be cooperative bank robberies, etc.? I mean, is there going to be anything? Because I mean, a lot of the times it will have this sort of elaborate description of what you're going to do, and then it's a death match, and you're like, well, I don't really. I mean, as a sort of death match game, playing GTA, like that, I'm less fond of the races even than you, just because everyone's a cunt and everyone just jackknifes each other and tries to smash. I mean, there is a certain element of fun if you know everybody doing it, but I'd rather play something like Need for Speed.
Yeah. There are those missions, but the thing is, what we were doing is driving into the blips, and none of those missions really happen in the blips, and they also don't happen in the rotation afterwards. Those missions only come from text messages or calling your contacts. I don't know why it's done like that, but it is. So we need to sit down next time we play it. It was a bit too hectic today, and I think most of them aren't for more than 4 players as well.
Yeah.
I've played plenty of missions which are drive here in a team, get these, you know, you need to. There's a car over here. It's parked up. It's being held up by a gang. You need to get up there, retrieve the car, and get it back to here as a co-op team. And the people you're playing against are AI. They're going to be really good fun, and there's loads more stuff, and they get more elaborate. And they're adding proper co-op heists as DLC with the board that you get in single player game that you can organise different ways of doing it and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So that's going to be great. That's coming as free DLC as well.
Oh wow!
Fairly soon, but it's weird how it's structured. The only reason I know how it all works is because I was writing about it for Games TM, and I had to basically, that's why I spent so long trying to get into it on my own. I basically learned everything that there is to learn about the game, which doesn't explain itself at all, over the space of a few hours. And yes, so that's why if you want to do those types of missions, if you're playing yourself, either call the contacts that you have in your phone and they will give you missions. I think they basically text you randomly with one of a selection of those types of missions, and as you rank up you meet more characters, and then more of those types of missions will open up. But if you haven't got any, give one of them a call. Give Gerald a call, give Simeon a call, and you'll get a mission like that to do. And if you're in the lobby with if you're in a free roam with maybe 2 or 3 of your buddies, you can all just jump in together, and fingers crossed you'll also be able to jump back into free roam mode afterwards and stay on the same server. But apparently that's been a bit skewer for some people.
Yeah.
But at least it's starting to come together and work a bit better than it was.
Yeah, it's definitely it's nowhere near as drastic as it was.
No.
I mean, we something that I'm sure they'll fix is that if you try and jump into someone's game, like a friend's free roam, and there's no room, it'll just say, there's no room, we're creating a new game for you now. And then you're sat in the clouds for 15 seconds. I mean, closer to 45 seconds to a minute. And then it bounces you in, and you're like, well, I don't want to play in a game on my own. And you try and join it again, and it does exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you can't back out of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's loads of problems with it. I mean, there was how many of us tonight? 7 or so, and it was too much to manage. I mean, trying to get us all into the same free roam was impossible. So someone would have to start a game, invite everybody, and if you're not in the same crew, it splits you up when there's team games and stuff. It's just there's still a lot that they need to do to fix it, and I do really, really have a lot of time for the fact that you can thumbs up or thumbs down the mission. So they're just going to tinker with those as and when, because they were. I mean, that mission we played where we were driving for. I mean, that game was dull as fuck, and it took 40 minutes maybe.
It took forever.
Yeah.
I ended up. I had to chase a car up a mountain.
Yeah, I was driving on a dirt bike, but then I got to the top and I just thought, I'm just going to stay. I can't be bothered. It's still so far away. Everyone else is kind of given. I mean, just
There was nothing wrong with that mode fundamentally. It was everyone on dirt bikes or little road, fucking 4x4 type cars, try and find a bunch of cars near you in the world and bring it back to a base while as full teams. Good idea, but
they need to make sure that it's not. It was spread over the entire map. It felt like.
Yeah.
So that was. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they have fixed it, because even 2 days ago, whenever I first got on, I think maybe 3 or 4 days ago, it was at the weekend possibly. It was really, I mean, some of the shit you saw, I think I've got it recorded. Just the amount of glitches was absolutely, I've never seen anything like it. And the only good thing that came out of that whole situation was when you were doing the tutorial, you have to basically do a mission with 4 other people, and you go and get some drug money. There's a shootout, you go and nick the drug money, you drive it to someone, and it's very straightforward. The only good thing that happened is that it glitched when I was doing that, so I had to do it again. And everyone was trying to stitch each other up, nicking cars, trying to get there first. And I knew that the drug dealer that you're supposed to catch runs out the back door. So I went straight to the back door, killed the guy, picked up the money, and everyone came and ran to me like, oh, let's all get in the car together. And I just ran and jumped on a bike, and I was like, fuck off! And so they were chasing me, shooting me in this car, and I fucking I got the money. I think that's how it works, isn't it? They didn't get any money, I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's still got a lot of teething problems. And when it's funny, it's we were playing it yesterday when our friend Jay was installing it and listening to us talk about us trying to pull 2 simultaneous liquor store robberies in free roam.
Right.
And ours fucked up because our friend Zeno pistol whipped me by mistake, and then there was police outside. I mean, it's just I could tell. I mean, he was laughing his head off and just like, I can't wait to play this, because that's where all the fun. I just hope they try and encapsulate some of that fun into these sort of more cooperative missions, rather than just because death matches I've just got no time for at all.
No, same. And also, as you rank up more, you get to be able to do more stuff in the world. as well. Like the armor car starts appearing after a certain level, so you can start trying to heist them as well. And I'm assuming more stuff will appear. A lot of it is locked off. They've just not done a very good job of communicating what the game's actually capable of and how it all works. And it also feels a bit... Amateur's the wrong word, but compared to games like Burnout Paradise, which are old and do a lot of the same things, some of it does feel a little bit backwards, like having to constantly jump into slow-ass lobbies when you just want to do a mission together. Yeah. You don't all jump. If you're in a crew, in a party, you should just be able to jump straight in with that party into the mission. You should be able to choose to do it without having to invite any other people quickly. It's just stuff like that to streamline the whole process. I'm hoping a lot of that will be fixed with patches. It's amazing that they've got any of it working anyway, to be honest. I don't know how to do anything. But when you've seen it being done better before in similar games, then it's kind of frustrating. Especially when in 4 you could just jump on with your mates, play that brilliant Cops versus Crooks game, which isn't in there anymore, and enjoy that. So it kind of feels like a step back from that in some ways. But having bought my own garage now, having a bit of put my stamp on the world, as it were, it kind of I like that kind of permanence that it has to it. It feels like the stuff you're doing is with slightly more consequence than anything that you did in 4. Yeah. So yeah, I like that, and I'm looking forward to being able to afford a bit more. But I keep losing my car, so I never have any money.
Yeah, I'm torn. I picked a fucking banana yellow Cadillac.
I love your car.
Yeah, see, I'm starting to fall because everyone knows when as soon as anyone sees me, I just saw a banana boat. That's you, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. I might soup it up and just make it, just drive around making crazy taxi jokes.
Yeah, it does look like a crazy taxi.
When you're playing it, especially, someone pointed out, and I was like, it really does. It looks like you're playing Crazy Taxi. Have you? So you haven't played any more of the campaign?
Well, no, because I played a bit more, and then I realised everything had gone wrong. So no, I haven't. All right. Which is annoying of you.
Yeah, little bits and pieces. I watched my girlfriend play it again, and it's really interesting. It's kind of similar to like you were saying when you were in Michael's shoes, when you felt like he would have a breakdown, and then the music came on, and it was all right. My girlfriend just did the Life Invader mission. Life Invader is the Facebook equivalent, and I won't spoil it. Basically, that mission involves you going to the Life Invader offices and then going home and turning on the TV. After she was playing it, and I was just watching her, and she did that mission, and then she just calmly walked as Michael out into the garden, and then walked into the swimming pool like neck high and just stood there. And I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she was like, "Oh, it's like that scene from Breaking Bad where he reacted and he just went and stood." I was like, "Oh yeah, weird." It's like she was reacting, she was creating this narrative herself rather than. I thought that was really neat. Also, Grand Theft Auto always gets praised for its music, but the actual in-game music is really brilliant as well.
Yeah, it really is.
I did a mission, one after the other. I did a mission where it was, it was like a chopper mission, and you're flying over Los Santos at night, and there was this kind of Tangerine Dream style electronica. It was probably made by Tangerine Dream, which is mental.
It would have been, yeah.
And that was really cool. Felt like a scene from Heat, and the way they've made the buildings look at night, really, really kind of reminiscent of that movie, especially. And then the next one was when Franklin and Michael are those freeway motorcycle cops with all the chips gear, and that you're chasing two sports cars, I think.
Oh yeah, I love that mission.
The 70s saxophone on the go, and I was like, this is brilliant. It's like it sounds like it's like the Chips theme tune, like a 70s. I mean, it's so good that the incidental music is as good as the stuff on the radio a lot of the time. I like how that's as important to the game. I haven't finished it. I don't know what percentage I'm at, but I'm hoping that nothing affects me the way it did you.
It's frustrating. It's a really common thing. Apparently, I went online, and there's loads and loads and loads of people who've had the same problem. It might get fixed, but I don't want to hang about. I just kind of want to catch up to where I was. Incidentally, if you're playing the game, I know what went wrong. Basically, it's stupid that it went wrong, but there's a bit where you get the option to speak to someone called Solomon and someone called Devin. I think it is. Is that right? Is that his name? It begins with a D.
The film producer.
No, Solomon's the film producer. Then you also meet a guy. I think he's a D on the map. I think he's called Devin, but my memory's gone funny.
I might not have met him.
You have to go and meet Solomon first, because what happened in mine, I decided to meet the other guy first, did a couple of missions, then had a cutscene that was Michael talking about having met Solomon. I was like, I hadn't met Solomon. Then Solomon disappeared from my map, and I thought, that's weird. Maybe we'll come back. Maybe it was just the game, a little glitch in the game or whatever. Didn't think anything of it. And then a couple of missions later, like I'm saying, it's given me this mission that it shouldn't have given me, and then the whole game's fallen apart. So if you get to that point, go to DS first, because apparently anyone who did that's not had any problem, which is clearly what you did.
Yeah, I haven't met anyone called whatever it was you just said. D?
Yeah, he makes you go and get tracked down. I'm pretty sure he gives you that mission where you have to dress up as the cops.
What's his name?
I thought it was Devon, but it might not be.
Devon? Oh, wait a minute. You meet him on a building site?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Isn't he one of the shitty FBI guys?
No, he's someone they know.
Oh, but he was at the meeting at the coffee table. I don't know. Maybe I've met him, but I know that I definitely met the film producer before that.
Right, yeah. We'll do that anyway.
Okay, so hopefully I'm doing all right. But yeah, I mean, that kind of... That happening would be tolerable if it wasn't a game this good. Fuck, that's really bad.
Yeah, let's try.
Shit.
But it is what it is.
This is the year of broken great games.
Fucking right it is.
But yeah, Grand Theft Auto, play it. It's good.
Yeah, you already have played it.
Indeed. Okay, well, both of our number ones are Beyond Two Souls on the PlayStation 3. We spoke about it earlier this week, so we could put a YouTube video up. If you've seen the YouTube video up, you can skip 9 minutes or 10 minutes or the whole podcast because we're just going to talk shit at the end anyway. But yeah, this is the audio from that YouTube. This is us talking about Beyond Two Souls. Do it!
Yeah. Okay, so my number one is Beyond Two Souls, PlayStation 3. Now, as people probably know, this is the new game from Quantic Dream, headed up by David Cage. Everybody knows this already. It's not a sequel to Heavy Rain, but it's certainly a spiritual sequel, for want of a less obvious pun. Done in the same engine, certainly in the same style, QTE-driven, very sort of blurring the lines between film and game, and more so in this case because you play as the real actress Ellen Page, who plays a girl called Jodie, and you play as her throughout different stages in her life, from childhood to sort of young adulthood, I'd say. And the whole game's told through a non-linear narrative, so you'll play one bit where she's an adult, then the next scene might be when she's 6-7 years old and whatnot. I think it's a really, I mean, it's an incredibly impressive game. It looks amazing for a current gen game. Absolutely incredible. The technology that they've got to capture Ellen Page, and Willem Dafoe's another major character in the game. And I mean, you can tell that it's not filmed because occasionally it looks a little bit unusual. But I mean, in terms of capturing the emotion of the performances and just the general animation, the way that in every single scene Jodie looks different. The different hair, different clothes, different face. That's amazing. The fact that when she's a young girl, this is something you could never do in films. You know, when they have a kid, if they have a flashback scene in a movie and there's a star in the movie, and then they go to the flashback scene when they're a kid, the kid looks nothing like what the grown-up would look like 99% of the time. Whereas with this technology, they can actually just make it look like that's how she'd look when she was a kid. So that's very cool. Yeah, I mean, the story is... It's a kind of supernatural story mixed with a coming-of-age story, right? So Jodie is a girl that has an unusual power, and that power is that she's kind of connected to this being, almost a poltergeist-type being called Aiden. It's spelled... she calls him Aiden, but it's spelled Aiden, like we'd say Aiden in England, but Aiden in the game. And you can move Jodie around the world and interact with QTEs just like you do in Heavy Rain, but you can also press triangle and then you control Aiden, and he controls more like a free camera, like when you detach the camera in Forge mode or something in Halo. And he can interact with different things in the world, like he can interact with people, he can sometimes possess people, or he can knock over tables and light switches and things. And... yeah, the game kind of tells the story about their relationship and Jodie's time growing up, in which, I mean, they found out about this quite early in her life. So she kind of grew up in an almost a military institution where they were studying her and things like that. Her relationship with Willem Dafoe, and at times it's certainly, I really enjoyed the story. I mean, I think people going into it looking for something high-minded or hugely deep and intelligent might be slightly disappointed. I kind of saw it as more like an interactive TV movie in terms of its plot. It's nothing hugely original. We've seen it all before. But what David Cage does manage to do with these kind of generic stories, especially in Heavy Rain and here, is put you right in the middle of scenes that, by interacting with them, give them a lot more depth. There's a scene later on in the game, and it's not a spoiler at all, but basically you play as Jodie having to get ready for a date, and it's just an absolutely brilliant scene because it put me into a role that I could never possibly have experienced. And it's not the role of being a soldier crouching behind a wall or a fucking car thief or a little man jumping over platforms. I've done all those, and that's great. This was something that I could have never possibly experienced. The panic of, should I go and put this on in time? What type of clothes should I wear? I thought that was a brilliant scene, and that's something that you've seen in films, but to actually have to do it yourself was great. I just thought it was a very cool game. It does fall down. It does get very cagey at certain points. What I mean by that is, like Fahrenheit before Heavy Rain, Mr. Cage has the... sometimes I think you need someone to come in and edit him a little bit because it does veer off into bollocks territory occasionally. But overall, I did really enjoy it. It's a technical marvel. The story is very engaging, and I must say Ellen Page's performance is absolutely riveting. I mean, genuinely, it's got to be one of the best in-game performances. She gives it her all. I mean, she's clearly into the project. She gets it. This isn't one of those phoned-in performances. It's all her. I think she's an amazing actress anyway. And the game, for me, was almost as much about just witnessing and being directly involved with that performance as it was playing it as a video game. I really enjoyed it, so I definitely do recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm only halfway through, but so far I am really liking it. And I do think that it's, if you didn't like... I mean, the default setting, apparently, for everyone who plays games is to be fantastically shitty about David Cage's ability as a writer. I've never felt that derogatory. I mean, I enjoyed Heavy Rain for what it was. He's derivative, he's occasionally a little bit pretentious, you could say, but I've never really found that to be too much of a bad thing. I think the story here is simpler. There's less characters, so I think that there's less tendency for him to get bogged down in... there's moments where the game just kind of... It's a lot more laid back. Actually, it's similar to the bit you were talking about when she goes on a date, which I haven't done yet. There's a really brilliant bit where you're just wandering around your house when you're a child. And it almost as well. I think the only way it could have been done better is in a book, but it completely conveys that misery of being stuck alone in a house when you're a kid and your friends are busy or they're not around, and you're just kind of just wandering around looking for things to do. And it's still, I don't think it could be done in any other medium, just because it's still engaging despite the fact that you're walking around trying to find shit to sort of keep you busy. And also further on in that sequence, actually, it really does a brilliant job of showing how terrorised this child is, and which sort of explains how she is when she's a little bit older. The decisions that you make, there are a lot of... Well, I've come across, I'd say, 3, maybe more, like significant decisions where you can tell the story is going to splinter depending on what you do. I really love the fact that they keep them under the surface. And on two occasions, I had to act really quickly because I realised midway through an act that this was how significant this was. I was like, oh, I should probably stop doing this. Or in another sequence, I was like, I should probably,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
being taken by surprise, because decisions in every game that sort of is adult, quote unquote, those are so well signposted that you're given a bit of time to think about it. So I kind of like having them sprung on me. Did you ever stop? About 5 times so far, I've stopped. Because I thought I was watching a cutscene, because I thought that it looks way too good to be interactive. And it is completely interactive.
Yeah, multiple times during the game. Yeah. And some of it looks really good. Some of it looks incredible. I mean, genuinely incredible. Yeah,
it's floored me a couple of times. Also, it's a tiny detail, but in any photorealistic game, but especially Heavy Rain, one thing that has never been handled very well is when characters bump into scenery. They kind of continue walking into it, and they turn and rotate on the spot, and it doesn't look right. In this, it looks amazing. You can just walk into stuff, and you're kind of the way you react to stuff is really quite stunning. I take it you haven't played; you've just played it on the pad.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've played it in 2. I've played it on the PS3 pad. I've played it on an iPad Mini, and I've played it on co-op with my girlfriend. I had the pad, and she had the iPad. So it seems like this is because the thing about Heavy Rain was that almost everyone I know who played it with their partner. So boyfriends and girlfriends played it together. The only people who didn't play it is that there's some of my friends who have a PlayStation 3 in the house, but they don't play games with it. It's like a media device. Yeah. So I tried to recommend them Heavy Rain, thinking that they'll enjoy it, and they never played just because they're slightly intimidated by the PlayStation pad. So the fact that there's iPad support is genius, because it makes things so much easier. In fact, I kind of preferred it to the DualShock. I mean, it makes things easier. When you're idle, you just bounce around to significant points of interest rather than having to move it with 2 thumbsticks. I
did think that would actually be a stumbling block for some people who who had enjoyed it, Heavy Rain, because it doesn't take any traditional gaming skill. There's no traditional gaming language to it. Whereas the whole twin stick thing is the thing that puts off a lot of people who pick up a first-person shooter, for example, and just end up, you've seen it, then they're just looking at the ceiling and they don't know what to do. And because you control Iden like that on the sticks, I did worry that might be the case for people who wanted to play Beyond. But if you can do it on the tablet like that, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's great. It's tap, and it's the gesture-based stuff is really, really satisfying as well. I think, to be honest, so far I prefer playing it like that and having it as co-op, because I passed the pad with my girlfriend back when Heavy Rain came out, and that was a great way to play it. And now we don't even have to do that. One of you plays as Iden, one of you plays as Jodie, and yeah, really clever. It seems like they've really gotten to the heart of what sort of Heavy Rain kind of missed out on, because it's even more accessible and it's even more geared towards 2 people playing rather than 1. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying the story. It does look amazing, as you said, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. So yeah, you reviewed it, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, I reviewed it for Games TM magazine. I believe the issue is coming out soon, or it's already out. I'm not 100% sure on that, so I won't give away what score I gave it just in case it's not out. But okay. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Like I said, those who've played Fahrenheit, it doesn't go like Fahrenheit, don't worry, but it does veer into that territory occasionally. Perhaps it could have done with a couple of scenes being erased that are in the second half of the game, but they don't spoil the enjoyment of the game at all. And also, anybody who's worrying, they did the E3 demo where they showed her basically being a soldier, and it looked like every other fucking game in the world.
I don't know. I don't think I saw that, to be honest.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it was E3. They showed her basically taking part in what looked like your typical Splinter Cell mission. That is in the game, but it's done very well, and it's a very small part of the game, and it's actually one of the best parts of the game. So don't worry, it's not like every other game. It's all makes sense within the context of the story. It's all fine. So don't go into it thinking that it's not what you want it to be, because it probably is what you want it to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I agree. I think it's really, really terrific so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. And also, if you even vaguely thinking about it and are not au fait with the PlayStation 3 controller, the iPad support is, I think, superior. So, get involved, I think.
Yeah, great stuff. Another strong PS3 game this year, PS3 exclusive, going out strong before the PS4 arrives.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, well, yeah, Beyond Two Souls. I have played a little bit more. Why would you have played any more? You haven't played any more, have you?
I haven't touched it, no. I played it weeks ago, yeah.
I'll be very brief, but I played a little bit more. I still think very highly of it. Something I didn't mention is there's something really nice when you're playing on the DualShock. Is it called a DualShock? I always hesitate.
It is, yeah.
Don't they call it something else, like a 6-axis?
No, that's what it was before because when it first came out, it didn't have rumble in it. But it was 6-axis because it was a wibbly, and everyone was like, "Give me rumble." I don't care about gyroscopes. I want rumble. So they made a new one. They called it DualShock 3.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm so unclued up. Whenever I go to say DualShock, I always hesitate in case someone goes, "It's not called that. It's called a fucking Wavebird or a wavy."
Wavebird.
But anyway, the way when you're Iden in Beyond and you use the 2 thumbsticks. And you flick when you interact with anything, you pull the thumbsticks down in a diagonal position and you let them go, and it's pretty nice because it's almost like you're flicking elastic bands at stuff.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So it does give you that feeling of interacting with things. I still think it's great. The reviews have come out now and they've been quite polarised. Although it seems to have settled on a 75 or 74 Metacritic, which is. Fair enough. I think I would have been disappointed if it was less than that. I mean, I've read many of the reviews, and a couple of people. Jim Sterling was one, and I think I read another one. It was possibly on Video Gamer, where they described it as boring, and I never found it boring.
Yeah, me neither. Which is, fine. What can you do if they did? They did. Yeah.
Yeah. But that seemed like a strange complaint because I've been really, really taken in by it. And I'm never bored, even when that sequence I spoke about earlier, or I've just spoken about, where you're walking around a house trying to find stuff to entertain yourself. That felt like a narrative device, and I never got bored by it.
No, I wasn't bored by a minute of the game. And at some points I balked because it does get a little hokey at times, but I think it seems like the occasional hokiness got to some people more than others, so more than me. I can't know. I read some of the negative reviews and I go, okay, there's nothing more than that. I don't feel aggrieved or like anybody's misrepresenting the game even. It's just like, oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I kept reading. A lot of people used the word preposterous, and I was like, "Yeah, it's preposterous." But I mean, are you going to tell me there's others? I mean, in the grand scheme of video games, it's not preposterous in the slightest.
No, it's not.
I think people are judging it as if it's a movie, which, on the one hand, is a credit to David Cage, because as much as people want to endlessly shit on that guy, he's made something that does bear that kind of comparison. Another thing I didn't mention is that if you've ever seen a movie montage. A stretch of time compressed into a very small sequence of film with music. This is, I think, has the first interactive montage in it. The training sequence at the camp with the music, and you're interacting with it bit by bit. It's like it's like a montage from a Rocky film or something. You know?
The montage in Saints Row doesn't have interaction, does it?
Saints Row.
Isn't there one in Saints Row 4?
Oh, there probably is, but yeah, I'm sure it's in the cutscene.
Yeah.
This was but I mean, you know, people would make jokes about how interactive is it. It's as interactive as the rest of the game, but
yeah,
I don't know. I really responded to that sequence where you're interacting directly with a piece of essentially cinema that you've seen 100 times. You'd never credit the writing with being amazing. You'd never say that it's like a revolutionary or anything. Pretty fucking cool though. That bit I was really just like, this is wicked. This is really wicked. I'm sort of toying with a staple of cinema that I've seen a million times. I still really like it. Again, I haven't finished it. I've still got half, potentially. Well, no, I don't think more than half. I think I'm about halfway through.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I was engaged all the way through. I loved parts of it. Some parts of it made me balk. There's one extended scene, which I think the game would be better off without. But you know, I didn't make the game.
Yeah.
In my opinion, no, I think the game, if you just literally chop that out, the game would be 45 minutes to an hour shorter. But I genuinely think it would be better for it. But I really admire what he does. I admire the fact that Sony backs him. I said in my review, you can read the review, it's actually on the GamesTM website, that not every game should be like Heavy Rain at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, but that doesn't mean that this game can't be like that. And it doesn't mean that all games are going to suddenly be like that or anything that we have to worry about. We don't have to be insecure about anything else. This is just the path that he's chosen, and I personally respond to it. But then again, and the thing is, I'm not really an apologist either, because I thought Fahrenheit was fucking awful. So, yeah, I don't know. I liked it.
I liked it too. I am liking it, and yeah.
When some of the low scores came out, I was like, oh fuck, all right, fair enough. What can you do?
Yeah. It is so different from anything else out there, and he has got the courage of his convictions. It is, you know, I've said this before, but it's the kind of game that you play and you just I have no doubt that this is what was supposed to be being played. It's not for everybody. I mean, I think it is curious that Sony are sort of getting so behind him, because I think it is definitely a niche. But as niche as it is, I'm so glad that they've got the money to spend on it, because it would be nowhere near as great as it is without the budget, unfortunately.
No, it needs everything. It needs all its component parts, definitely.
Yeah, but I do like people talking about it who haven't played it. They're my favourite people.
Oh no, I'm retiring from all that bollocks. I'm erasing negativity from my life and bringing back the fun.
Good, yeah, me too. But just on an unrelated note, how many gold medals have you won in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
2 gold medals.
2? Not bad.
Yeah,
a
couple of silvers and some bronzes.
Fair play, but I mean, like, with all that skill, what are you doing with it apart from competing? Why don't you treat your life like, what's his name in Kung Fu, the old 70s TV show, and go out and find people who deserve to be choked out?
Because that would be, unfortunately that would put me in prison. But yeah, sometimes the thoughts go across my mind, but sometimes I just like to think about all the good stuff in my life. Like, my little boy got a Spider-Man costume today, and that's better than anything that anybody can say.
But yeah, okay, well said. But from my point of view, what I think you should do is I think you should go out there, find somebody who's got the social disposition of Kevin the Teenager and looks a little bit like the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and choke that motherfucker out.
Sometimes, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, that's good comment there. or lack thereof. Okay, all right. Well, look, that's us done. Thank you very much for listening, as usual. To all the people that heeded our request for iTunes reviews, thanks a bunch, because it did what we hoped it would. It shot us up the charts again, which is ridiculous because it shouldn't work like that. But we really do appreciate it. So thank you very much. Twitter. For how much longer, I don't know. We're both on Twitter for the moment. At Chet and Johns is the podcast feed, which we'll tweet you every week when the podcast comes out. We're on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that's it. We'll be back next week, and we thank you for listening. Hopefully see you next week.
Check out YouTube as well. Chet and John on YouTube.
Of course. YouTube,
and hit subscribe on that. That would be massive. More subscribers we get on that, better content we can do, better content we can get for the podcast.
True that.
Podcast will grow.
True
Everything
that.
grows.
True
All we
that.
can do is press one button.
True
you know
that.
what I'm saying?
True that. Thank you. See you later. Bye. Bye.
I cannot even believe you. I cannot even believe you. What? You're still playing this game? Goddamn thing got addicted! Oh, now you become a real Candy Crush Saga master, huh?
Sugar Crush.
I like this! I beat Kobe! Fuck you, you son of a bitch! I beat your fucking ass! Jesus Christ, are you still playing this game?